We're talking to Dr. Duncan. The title or the topic is the Interdisciplinary Program at Tennessee State University. Of course, Dr. Duncan, we've covered many more items outside of the Interdisciplinary Program at Tennessee State University, but I think that too sort of indicates what the interdisciplinary program is all about, because it does give you an opportunity to talk about a large number of things. Let's continue our discussion in reference to students who are receiving financial resources but are unable to, in a real sense, compete and keep those resources in order to get a degree. Let's talk about it.
Well, Dr. Haney, as I was saying in the earlier segment, you know, the reality is our students are dealing with a lot of things. They bring a lot of things from home. Many of our students, when they get their financial aid, are sending money home to try to help out with their families. You know, they're dealing with the fact that some of them come from single parent homes. They have younger siblings and they're concerned about their younger siblings. They're away from home and they were their parents' primary help, you know, with their younger siblings. So all of a sudden, you know, you've got these major family shifts and changes that have taken place. And they're here at school, supposed to be focusing on school, but still concerned about what's going on at home.
I know the feeling. Very good.
That's real.
Good.
And unless we can acknowledge that those things that our students are dealing with are very real and put the resources in place to address those things, then we can assist them. I was talking about the First Ladies Club, and one of the reasons that I decided to do it was I saw our young women struggling. You know, not just struggling academically, but struggling with who they were as young women, and struggling with what that meant, and getting caught up in things that they didn't need to get caught up in, which distracted them from their education. So they're having boy problems, and they're all caught up in men and relationships, and they don't know how to deal with it in an effective, healthy way, and their grades suffer. And that's real. You know, they may get pregnant, and then that's another issue, and then he's dealing with the same kinds of things. You know, we have a lot of athletes, and for our athletes, we particularly have some problems because, particularly basketball. Basketball team, at one point in the semester, they were gone for almost 2 solid weeks. It's difficult to maintain your GPA and complete your course assignments when you're not in class like that. These are real problems. So what do we do? Do we just say, well, forget about them? You know, let them fall by the wayside? You know, I mean, they're at least getting their education paid for. We can't afford to do that. Many of those students, particularly the student athletes, are interdisciplinary study majors, because if they transfer from another school, most of the traditional programs won't take as many of their hours. So they end up in my program trying to figure out, what do I do with this degree? I want to get my education. I want to play sports. I want to do all of that, but I don't know what this is. You know, I just wanted to major in this, or I just wanted to major in that. And so it becomes a challenge, because they either have to give up their academic eligibility to achieve their major, or they have to shift what they're doing. And I try to show them how they can achieve both their goals. You know, shift what they're doing, but still achieve their academic goals, as well as maintaining their athletic eligibility. But it's interesting to me when we look at the lottery funds and when we look at the opportunity to have those resources. I'll use my own son as an example. My son had a scholarship and he went off to college, and his first semester of his freshman year absolutely lost his mind. He got caught up in hanging out, partying, staying in the room, playing Xbox.
I know, I understand the feeling.
His mom is educated. She's an educator. He grew up on a college campus. So it's not like he wasn't exposed to these things. But the reality is our young people are having to make choices and decisions, and all of them aren't the best ones. So that's why it's so important that we mentor them. I believe in mentoring them. I believe in taking them under my wing, because if I don't, I feel like then I'm just as guilty as the person who doesn't care, you know? So I feel like I have an obligation. I feel like we as faculty members have an obligation. And some people would argue that, no, we don't get paid enough for that, you know? But I feel like one of the things about teaching at Tennessee State, and one of the reasons I decided to come to Tennessee State, was that it was a historically black college, you know? And that all of the things that I heard about HBCUs was that, you know, the faculty were more involved with the students, and they could serve as role models. And even you, I hear so many wonderful things about your classes, and the students are fighting to get into Dr. Haney's classes, because you have passion, you have enthusiasm, and you convey that to them. If they don't get that first semester, they fall through the cracks. If they don't have at least one class where their attention is grabbed, and they say, wow, this is what college is like, then we lose them.
And we're losing an awful lot of them, too.
We are.
We are.
We are. So what that says to me is maybe what we need to do is invest some funds in really working with faculty.
You know, one of the things I think you mentioned about the female student, we find in many situations, especially on historical black institution campuses, that female students make up almost 65 or 70% of the students.
Yes.
And I think that that's a good thing, but at the same time, what
it creates imbalance.
It really does. It creates a real problem.
It creates imbalance, and an imbalance that affects them in a lot of ways that are not positive. Okay.
Speak to that. That's
Well, the reality is, you know, and it's reflective of the larger African American community. You know, the more educated you become as an African American female, the lower your chances are of getting married. Okay. Increase that with age, you know, then it just really creates another dynamic. But the young women find themselves competing for male attention because there are so few males, and so that creates this animosity and competition that is also distracted from their education. And these things are real issues that have to be addressed. So what do? We have to have people on campus who are able to address these issues that students can relate to. Now, you can have all the degrees in the world, and you can read every journal article that has been written on a particular topic. But if the students cannot connect with you, they're not going to talk to you, and they're not going to listen to you.
And they're not going to study for you either.
That's exactly right.
That's it. I mean,
that's exactly right.
They make decisions as to whether or not they're going to study or not.
That's right.
That's a real thing. That's a real problem.
Even whether or not they're going to attend.
That's a problem.
But Dr. Haney, you know, I've had the opportunity to walk past some classrooms, and I've heard some people that, you know, I don't know if I could have made it through. That's serious, you know.
And of course, I think that's general. That's everywhere now.
It is. But, you know, that's one of the things, having taught at University of Nebraska, Lincoln, Kentucky State, University of Georgia, University of Kentucky, I've had opportunity to see teaching occur in a large number of venues, but the reality is, people who get PhDs are not taught to be teachers. They're taught to learn a discipline and to do research. There's a difference. So there's no place where the gap is really filled in, where people are taught to be effective teachers, taught to command the classroom, taught to capture their students' attention and maintain it. Those things are key in helping our students be successful in the classroom.
Well, we've got about 2.5 minutes to go, Dr. Duncan. And this will give you an opportunity to perhaps make some statements in reference to some of the things that you probably wanted to say before you got here today. And let's give you an opportunity over the last 2 minutes to do that.
Well, Dr. Haney, first of all, I want to appreciate you for the opportunity just to be on your show. I mean, you're a legend.
Well.
You are. And it's so amazing because you walk in such humility. You know, and that says a lot for who you are as a person. And we need to make sure that we're generating more people who can fill in when you retire. I know you want to retire one day. Yeah, one day you want to rest.
I have to go.
One day.
Very good.
Not soon though, because we need you. But we have to begin to create the next generation of scholars who are going to come into the academy and bring the fire that they want to see in the classroom. If we're not producing people who are looking at graduate programs, who are considering going on into the professorate, you know, then what we're going to do is we're going to find ourselves with a shortage, you know. We already struggle finding people to teach classes, and we shouldn't, because it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a wonderful venue. When I was growing up, I liked to be the center of attention. So I tell my students all the time, I like to be the center of attention, so I became a teacher.
Very good.
I
That's what teachers
undivided
do.
attention, you know. You have to look at me. You have to listen to me. And I love that. But helping them to understand that when you have a passion about something and you know your purpose, if you can pursue your purpose with passion, you can do absolutely anything. The sky is the limit. But we've got to generate that purpose in them and that passion.
And it's in all of them too. It's right there. It's the ability to be able to touch it and to make it blossom. I think that's what a teacher is all about. And of course, I think, Dr. Duncan, you're an excellent teacher. I've heard about you, what you've said about me. The reason you're here today is because what I've heard about you here. And of course, we certainly appreciate you coming by and giving us that information. And I'm sure that students will be encouraged by some of the things that you're saying and the passion and the enthusiasm that you bring to this project too, and I certainly appreciate that. And of course, let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.